House of Representatives lawmakers called on the federal government to halt the rehabilitation of convicted terrorists, insisting resources should instead be directed towards supporting victims of terrorism. Proceedings later turned rowdy over a proposal to invite President Bola Tinubu to explain the alleged suspension of zonal intervention and constituency projects. National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa reports again.
For more than a decade, Nigerians have endured the devastating impact of kidnapping for ransom and other violent crimes. Available data indicate that an estimated 2.23 trillion naira was paid as ransom between 2021 and 2025. The figures have raised fresh concerns in the House of Representatives as lawmakers launched an investigation into how Nigeria's financial system is being exploited to finance kidnapping and other criminal activities. Lawmakers want that weaknesses in the country's financial intelligence architecture are enabling terrorism financing and could further expose Nigeria to sanctions, including continued grey listing by the Financial Action Task Force. They also raised concerns over the alleged use of point-of-sale operators, bureau de change operators, and cryptocurrency platforms to launder ransom payments.
Concerned that criminals and terrorist networks continue to exploit the formal and informal financial systems, including bureau de change operators, cryptocurrency platform, trade-based money laundering schemes to launder ransom proceeds and reintegrate them.
The House also strongly opposed the rehabilitation of convicted terrorists, arguing that such programs undermine justice for victims and could embolden criminal groups.
Rehabilitating terrorists cannot at whatever level of influence be encouraged. But let us do our needful by taking care of the victims.
As a country, we have a security system that is able to go after kidnappers and free kidnapped victims, in addition to not paying ransom. I don't believe and I don't see any rationale behind rehabilitating a criminal that is killing people.
Earlier, plenary turned rowdy following attempts by some lawmakers to have President Bola Tinubu appear before the House over the alleged suspension of payments for zonal intervention and constituency projects nationwide to clarify the issue.
This House to agree that we summon Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, together with his financial team, to please come to this House in line with the provision of the Constitution to brief Nigerians exactly what is happening, because the stories are not complimentary at all.
Similarly, Abia lawmaker Alex Ikweche, in a motion, expressed concern over delays in the release of appropriated funds, outstanding payments to contractors, and the slow implementation of the 2025 and 2026 budgets. The intervention of the Speaker restored order. The House subsequently urged the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Budget Office, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, and the Central Bank of Nigeria to expedite the release and cash backing of appropriated funds. The Speaker, however, ruled that the proposal to invite President Tinubu was unparliamentary. The House further called for a review of the Treasury circular to eliminate bureaucratic bottlenecks, delaying the execution of constituency projects. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's talk to former Assistant Director DSS Dennis Amakri for more on this development on TVC News at 10. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight, Mr. Amakri. Both lawmakers from both the Senate and House of Reps appear to be speaking out against rehabilitating and reintegrating terrorists. What do you make of scrapping programs like Operation Safe Corridor from an intelligence and counterterrorism standpoint?
Thank you very much, Nifemi. You know, we've been talking about this for a very long time, that the original concept actually was a good one, because it was aimed at depopulating the terrorist camp. You know, at the same time, you know, it will also give an intelligence windfall to the security agencies, because those people who are surrendering and coming in will be giving the security agencies a lot of information that could be used. And then, of course, for the international sector, we are doing something that at least people will see as a disciplined military. But I think it derailed. It derailed where we forgot about, the victims themselves. And that is what the legislators are talking about now. We are concentrating on them and then forgetting the victims. At the same time, some of them are coming after being de-radicalized, are going back to the forest.
The big question has always been, how do you strike the balance between national security objectives and justice for the victims? Because you can't have sustainable security, or peace rather, if the victims don't feel they have received justice. Someone whose family members have been killed, how do you explain to them that the person who killed your loved one is now repentant and has been rehabilitated?
Yes, exactly. And that is what our National Orientation Department is supposed to do, because, the perception of injustice is the biggest problem. People who are suffering, who've been killed, their families have been decimated, and then, of course, the man who killed them is back in society being, propped up by government and even given a starter pack to start a trade. So that perception of injustice is not going to work very well. They would have done a proper, thorough vetting. Know these people that are being rehabilitated, and then, of course, involve the community, because there is a high risk of community rejection if the community is not involved. All the people in the IDP camps are all, watching out. So I think this is what should have been done. And of course, we have to use a victim-centric approach, not the terrorist-centric approach that we've been using.
There's also the political dimension to this, given that we're counting down to a big election in 2027. But after more than 15 years of insurgency, Mr. Makri, what do you believe Nigeria's counterterrorism strategy should prioritize now? Where should government focus its resources for the greatest impact?
Our counter-terrorist strategy should be more kinetic, because I don't think the non-kinetic part is working. And then with our partners, international partners, I think we should strengthen it to make sure that we deal with this. If there are people that have surrendered or who are trying to surrender, I think they should be taken through our justice system, and let them go through the court to answer for all the things they've done, instead of forgiving some of them and then, of course, still fighting some of them. We have to realize that even in the United States, Guantanamo Bay still have, terrorists that have been captured by the United States from Afghanistan and Pakistan. They are still there. They don't release them. We cannot just take these people in, release them, and then they go back and then cause more problems. So we should stick to the kinetic approach and deal with it decisively.
Former Assistant Director, DSS Dennis Amakri. Good to see you again. Thank you for talking to us.